Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good.
Hello and welcome to the SC Ballers podcast. I'm your host and coach of the Terrace crew, Matt Ricks. I've certainly had better weeks at SuperCoach than the one just gone. Round 20, I decided not to watch the Penrith-South Sydney game, and thank God I didn't, because I was not a Dylan Edwards owner. Joining me tonight is a fellow non-Dylan Edwards owner, not quite as broken man as me, but big welcome to former third place overall finisher and coach of the Casa Bonitas, Danny Boy Ricks. Danny, welcome to the Ballers pod, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Matty. I saw a few comments from people about the Ballers red arrows this week. Everyone's gone down. None of us Dylan Edwards owners. I was fortunate. Tubes, and I think, was it CMAC, might have brought in Brian Toto, or at least a couple of people we knew. And I was getting a bit of FOMO. I was getting a bit of FOMO just pre-game, and I tried to switch him into my team, and fortunately was on the tube here in London. Didn't quite have the data, and then I was locked out when I got to the next station. So fortunately didn't bring him in. But not a bad week, 1180 considering. It's obviously just who didn't have Dylan Edwards and who did. And I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that brought him in. Very well done, 170 plus, even 150 without the goal kicking if you don't consider that. So, yeah, probably a good option going forward.
Yeah, big decision for those who don't own this week. He's the most purchased player, unsurprisingly, and he's nearly owned by half the top-ranked team. So we will get into a big baller blueprint about the halfbacks and fullbacks and how we should be structuring that very shortly. Dan, I had an 11.53, which dropped me from 6th place to 32nd, about 400 off the lead. Really good to see friend of the show, Finn, up into 2nd. He's very, very close to the lead now. And hopefully we'll be able to get Finn on before the end of the year. And his team is looking sensational. He's got a fair few trades in the bank still.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I think he's really just timed it well. Like he's brought in Meaney probably for that big score in the final buy round. He's brought in Edwards. He just hasn't missed, and 7 trades is amazing. I think I'm with the carnage at second row this week. I'm max traded this week, and I've got 3 remaining, and I probably have to make another one next week. So was reflecting on previous years. I know 2023 was absolute carnage for restings. I had eight players in 2023 line up in the final round. So I'm potentially looking at something like that this year if we keep seeing these trends.
Well, yeah, it's second row this week, isn't it? It's just been decimated. So we'll get stuck into all the best option to replace your Koloamatangis and your Tino Fasulmela-Auis. Dan, but I've got to give a call out to the Run Home Challenge that has kicked off in earnest. Thank you so much to all the ballers out there who have jumped in the league. Over 2,000 of you. It's a massive, massive achievement for the ballers to get a league that size. $7,000 worth of prizes, and we got the first merch packs to be won this weekend for the highest score in round 21. Leading, Dan, the overall Run Home Challenge is Mitchell, coach of Roger That, who bumped out a massive 1,552 points, for 399 points more than I scored on the weekend. That's what I need to do to the leader this week and all the other leaders to overtake them. So I don't know who's going to be my Dylan Edwards this week, but I hope it's potentially Nick Meaney on Thursday night against the Roosters. But Dan, just having a look at his team, Roger That, he's actually pretty stacked lineup. He had Zach Hoskin and Luke Garn, a couple of nice pods in the 2RF there. And then he captained Edwards, obviously. So and he's got Ronaldo and Karapani ready to come this week. So he's right in the frame for the Run Home Challenge.
It's like where Tubes wants to be. Those ultra pods that are just popping off. Zach Hoskin and Luke Garner, like you look at them as just your generic run of the mill second row forwards. Does what the coaches say, but they pumped out big attacking stats on the weekend and both timed up. So. Yeah, well done. That's what it's going to take for this Run Home Challenge, isn't it, though? It's just going to be going against the grain a little bit, hoping the guys pop off. And, yeah, those with trades is probably in the box seat to do so.
Yeah, so big well done to Mitchell. He jumped in the Baller Run Home Challenge near the end of the round, so he timed his run perfectly. Harry in second place, coach of St. Gutho's men, only 31 points behind, and then a further point back to Jacob, coach of Knick Knack Paddywhack. So big moves to be made in the Run Home Challenge this week. We're going to be keeping a close eye on it, and plenty of baller merch packs. We're picking them up from the post office tomorrow, Danny boy. And hoodies and caps, and can't wait to be rocking those in the next few weeks.
Is there a international postage in the budget this year?
There's one coming your way, mate. So keep an eye out. Season long update. So the 5K overall season league that we're running, Justin, coach of Just To'o Good, is 3rd overall and number 1 in the league. I think that's still the case. That might not have updated, but regardless, he's having a very good season. Justin, I'll get him up. And yeah, so that's 5,000 in total there, 3,000 to the winner, same as the Run Home Challenge. So it's all start. They're starting to hit the go button, Dan, for the run home now, and it's all the cream is rising to the top.
Yeah. So what are we if we're not the cream? Because we're not rising. We're going down.
Look, I don't know when cream rises, but it's certainly not the end just yet. So I'm still planning on being a bit of cream. And team lists have been much kinder to me today, Dan. So I'm confident. Yeah, confirming Justin is still 3rd overall. So. He's flying top of the 5K league. He's just clear of 191.58. Daniel and NJ Beast Mode squad up into 3rd, all in the top 10. So massive effort from the guys there. Dan, let's get on now to the watch along. So huge watch along this week. I've got myself, Aman, from Aman Talks SuperCoach, and the NRL Physio. So aside from myself, an absolutely star-studded lineup. Aman's hair will obviously be making an appearance as well. So he should bring in the female audience. So it should be good.
For sure. I loved it last week. It was great. Like you guys interacted with the comments as well. It's really good. It was
a lot of fun.
It was just good to watch along. I'm still thinking of coming in just to maybe have a bit of physio chat with Physio himself. I don't know. I'm a bit starstruck at the moment with him coming on, but it should be great. Looking forward to it.
He likes to nerd out because he gets the physio audience tuning in as well. Like the people who want to hear about the injuries and whatnot. So yeah, I think you're welcome. You can come in and relieve me maybe and nerd out with him for a bit on the physio stuff. Should be good. But yeah, Roosters Storm, massively relevant SuperCoach game. I'm going to be hugely up and about because Nick Meaney's playing fullback. Will I stick the VC on him this week? Do I have the guts having captained him on the weekend? It's such a good week for captains. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. He's a good enough pod already, I think. All right, let's get into the Baller Blueprint, Dan. And this week for the Baller Blueprint, I wanted to have a chat to you about halfback and fullback structure. I spoke pretty openly last week about I think it's really pivotal to have 5 guns almost every week there in your halfback spots and your fullback spots plus the flex. And I just wanted to give people some idea because obviously Dylan Edwards is on the menu this week, but not everyone can get Edwards in and you're really making trade-offs this time of year when you don't have many trades left. If you want to shift a Jerome Hughes to him or a James Tedesco, you know, how do you think about making those types of moves and is it worth it? How are you approaching your halves and your fullbacks to finish the year?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I've got the Hines and Hughes combination, and I will be bringing in Nathan Cleary this week. I feel like I've missed the boat on Edwards just because now most people up the top have him, so I want to avoid him, and I'm backing Cleary to outscore him on the run home. So I'm very happy to hold 3 halfbacks at the moment. I can see the play, particularly for people up top, to get rid of Hughes this week and bring in the 3 fullback rotation. So if you've got Cleary already, like yourself, who accidentally bought him a couple of rounds ago, there'll be some people that can probably go Cleary and Edwards this week. But yeah, so if you've got Edwards already, I'd be double stacking with Cleary. Probably trade him for Hughes this week. But I don't see any problem with running 3 halfbacks on the run home. I know you're probably considering getting rid of one of your halfbacks.
Yeah, I'm considering Hughes, but not this week. The only thing that would change that for me is if we've got news that Edwards was going to keep the goal kicking. I don't think we're going to get that news though, unfortunately, like beyond this week. He might kick this week, but beyond that, if we got news like say that Edwards was kicking for the next month, would that sway you to bring him in?
I don't think so. I really think the attack for Penrith is very different when Cleary's in the side. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a more dominant player than Dylan Edwards in that Souths game. Like just in terms of his involvement, his touches. I think on the VB hard index scale, he was number one. Like you don't see that for fullbacks very often. So he was just so involved. They're going to look for Cleary near the line. He's going to get his hands on the ball a lot. It's just not going to be the same for Dylan Edwards with Nathan Cleary in that side.
No, I agree with that. And I mentioned that on the pod last week that Edwards' best Supercoach run was when Cleary was out of the team last year. And that obviously massively came to fruition last week. I will say on baller projections that if we saw Edwards kick goals for the next 3 weeks, he would have a 3-round projected score of let me see, around above 90, so sort of 93, something like that. So very, very compelling. So I'm desperate for Cleary to get the tee back this week. And I just can't really fit Edwards in. I just don't think I could trade a Jerome Hughes, Dan, to an Edwards. It just feels too sideways, especially, like you said, with Cleary back in the team now.
Yeah, and Jerome Hughes is looking good. Like they did a tough Melbourne on the weekend against Manly, who put in a huge effort. He still looked hungry. He still, got really involved and looked really dominant. I think Munster took a back seat, but still base output was great from Munster. But yeah, Hughes is still going to be very heavily involved in the back end. And just looking at the other options at fullback now, like there's a lot that have gone down. Pappy's injured, Trell's injured. There's just not that many premium fullbacks you want. So I guess that's why Dylan Edwards is so relevant, because he's probably the final man standing.
Also that he scored 173 on the weekend. It's the other reason why it's pretty relevant.
We all know. We all saw that, Andy. We all saw that.
Yeah, so what about the guys down away from that who people might own, or sort of your Tommy Turbos or your Walshes? Are those guys, would you be holding on to them to get to this sort of, if we're saying the big five is Cleary, Hines, Drinky, Teddy, and Edwards, and then maybe Hughes as a sort of a combo 5 of those 6. Do you think you have to be running 5 of those 6, or could you run a Walsh or a Turbo in there, or another pod option?
Yeah, I really like Walsh to take on Edwards. I think he's a great purchase. I can't do it just because of my lack of trades, but yeah, anyone who does have those trades doesn't have Edwards. Could you take on Teddy as well? Like just with the form that he's shown, Sam Walker obviously hasn't been great for him coming back. Could you, if you do have Edwards, could you flip Teddy down to someone like a Walsh and go against the grain to make some ground up?
I don't think so. I don't think that's worth a trade. Like, you're likely to lose points. Like, I know Teddy hasn't been in good form, and it could pay off from a points perspective, but is it worth those extra, just say average 10 more than him? Is that worth it in the context of that trade, using that trade? I would argue potentially not.
Could be. I think you've got to if you've made your bed with Turbo, like hold on and try to enjoy the ride. I think he's still punching out okay numbers. You've got to really get through the next few rounds though. I think it's going to be tough, but he could also really open up at the back end once he regains more fitness, as long as he's staying on the park. But apart from that, there's not many options. We know that Sharks have a good run coming up, but we're not going touching someone like a Will Kennedy. So I really like you looking at fullbacks with the best draws, and I think most people have those guys, and I wouldn't be straying too far from the top 5 you suggested there.
Yeah. I wouldn't be getting rid of Teddy. I wouldn't be getting rid of Drinky, especially now that Perdue's lost the 5'8" shirt. Tom Duffy's in there, so we should see a lot of third receiver Drinky, which you love to see. And then Nico's a 100% hold, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, he's a captain this week. He should be most captain against Souths.
Yeah, and they've got a delicious run before their bye in round 25. They play Souths, Dragons, Titans, and someone else terrible, Cowboys next week at home. So yeah, they've got a really juicy fixture run. So yeah, I think you just got to be very careful moving sideways as well there. I'd be reluctant to move sideways to an Edwards unless we get a little bit more clarity about the goal kicking, because like you said, you're not going to make ground up on the guys who already have him. It can really only go wrong. Yeah, it might save you a little bit of rank, but I don't know. I'm not going to be bringing Edwards in this week. I think I'm just going to stick it out with Hughes for now and then make a call. I think the Storm's fixtures turn next week, so it might be an opportunity to get a pod. I was hoping like we'd get Latrell hanging around or someone like that, but we're just not going to get that. Otherwise, it could be a bullet bite and have to get Edwards, but I can make that decision next week.
Well, I guess also what might open up, it's a bit risky, obviously, with this injury cloud around him, but when Pappenhausen comes back and if Storm's draw open up as well, he's certainly an option going forward. It just depends.
What about as a sell this week? Have to sell him?
I don't know. I guess it's such a tough position. The believers in Pappy, I think Tubes is in the same boat, just holding on, waiting for him to get a berth. It's so hard because, as you said, Storm draws opens up. If he's back next week and plays the rest of the year, he's definitely an option. And I think if that was guaranteed, I wouldn't be selling, but you just don't know at this stage.
All right, Dan, that'll take us through the blueprint now. Let's move down to our positional analysis. And given we've covered fullback and halfback quite in depth there, and there's not too many more relevant options, let's get straight into centre wing, which is super duper interesting this week. Can't believe I just said super duper. We spend a lot of time, Dan, talking about your Herbies and your Kirazes and your Zach Lomaxes and the like, Ruben Garricks, all these very popular, highly owned options. This week gives us an opportunity to look at some of those lower owned options who are very pod and are timing their runs right now with the good fixture runs and just prevailing options for the run home. So I do want to chat briefly about Lomax because he's slightly lower owned than the other ones, and he's busted out another 95 on the weekend. He's 735k. How essential is Lomax ahead of these sort of more pod options, Dan?
Probably put Lomax as number one centre wing right now. Looking at sort of Manly have got a tough draw, so Garrick's probably just down a little bit. Kiraz, I mean, he always looks a bit injured, but he copped a neck knock on the weekend. I saw that. He was struggling. We saw that Lomax away to Raiders can still bust out a ton. That's just absolutely elite. And Mitch Moses back this week, right-hand side dominance. I think he's probably number one most essential in centre wing. If you don't have him, pick him up this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've owned him for a few weeks now and love owning him, love watching him play. He's still a great price too, 735k. On the ballr projections, we're projecting him to average 80 still on the run home, so he's still getting a touch of value there. From Zachy, they do have some hard games. Obviously, Brisbane away. He's projected 73 this week, but that's his lowest projection of the season. Beyond that, he only he's in the 78s, 87, 85, 82, 78, and 85. So clear top centre wing for the run home from a ballr projection standpoint. A couple of other guys, Dan, who have amazing projected scores, and someone I'm really interested in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it this week, but he's getting up there in price now, break even at 15. Dane Gagai. Since he's moved to fullback, he's busted a score in the 90s and a ton. 629k. He had a little cork on the weekend, but I think he's looking the business at fullback. And even though the Knights are going to be underdogs in most games, I still think he's going to score really well. And he's had a little bit of attack. He obviously scored a try on the weekend, but yeah, I think Dane is an exceptional option, especially at that price.
Yeah, he looks unbelievable. We saw it early on in the season. It didn't matter how Knights were going. Their outside backs were all consistently scoring well. Like they're the only ones that are doing something in that side. And Dane's just, at that fullback position, really taken over. Lots of touches. I saw that knee knock on the weekend. It looked very painful. I think it was a direct knee straight into the side of his knee there. So there could be a little bit of bone bruising on that. I wouldn't be too concerned that he will probably play. And we know he loves to get involved. I think he's playing for a contract as well. So yeah, he's a great option. I think still low 600s. You can't really go wrong with these fullbacks at the moment.
Yeah, he would be comfortably my top pick of these sort of 500 to 600, 650k centre wings. And we're going to talk about a few other options who are good, but I just don't think they've got the same. I don't think they're in the same ballpark really as Gagai as an option. The only thing with Gags is he's got the round 22 bye, so with injuries hitting so hard that could hurt you next week if you're not really set up. The other thing, Dan, I suppose, he's pretty durable, isn't he? I know he's an old bloke, but you'd have to. He's always limping around, but you'd have to back him to stick around to the end of the year now.
Yeah, I think so. He's got that. SuperCoach style where you kind of have the arm out. So he's got the long reach. He just breaks tackles with just like little bump offs, a bit like a Teddy. So he's always going to, and just his involvement is so good this year. Knights are going to struggle big time, I think. They put up a good performance against the Warriors on the weekend, but I think they're still really going to struggle. But I think he's pretty safe. I mean, you could take on someone like a Dylan Edwards, like with the Gagai this week as well. I don't mind that at 100K cheaper. And then look to make some moves and swings when you think about maybe dropping a Hughes in the following weeks.
Yep. The baller projections absolutely love Gagai. He's projected to score 77 points per game on the run home. That is elite, third only behind Lomax and Farnworth for centre wingers, and 5 clear of Ruben Garrick, who has a 72 run home projection. So, yeah, he's a fantastic option. Dan, a couple of these other guys in this range we're going to talk about now. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, 586k. Gehamat Shibasaki, young GI, 659k. And Stephen Crichton, goal kicking for the Dogs, 593k. These guys are all up there in price. Who do you like out of those three to sort of potentially go on a bit of a run as a pod centre wing option if people are shopping there this week?
I don't mind. I like Stephen Crichton for the pod. I think he's gonna be big at the back end of the year. He does have the goal kicking still, doesn't he? So
yeah.
Dogs, they're just new combinations. We've seen it with the Cowboys this year. It's the switching combinations, and we've seen it with the Bulldogs. It's just a little bit hard to get used to, but once they start to click in the gear, it did definitely look better back end of this Dragons game, although that was pretty tough for them. I think, Crichton's probably the best option. He's in the best team. We know he's elite. He's not necessarily that big base output centre wing that you're looking for, but I think he's got some attack coming.
Worth noting that he's had his 2 best pure base games the last 2 times he's played for the Dogs. So round 20 versus St George and round 17 versus Penrith. He had 34 and 42 in base, which are his best of the season. So it's there. Then he gets a goal kicking base as well. Dogs should rack up a few decent scores on the run home, I would have thought. So he definitely has some big tons in him, so I don't mind that shout at all. Shibasaki, Dan, that left side for the Broncos, we've seen them go on a tear. He just keeps getting it done. He's a good hole runner. He's a try scorer. I'm pretty interested in him as a pod. Like, no one's really going to be bringing him in. Tube still owns him, of course, but they play Parramatta, South Sydney, Finns and Knights and Cowboys on the run home, plus the Storm twice, home and away for some reason. They play them twice in the last 5 rounds. So they're harder matches, but that's the right side that you want to be on against a Storm. I don't know. I'm not gonna get him because I just don't need him at the moment. But I wouldn't put anyone off buying him.
The hard thing with Shiba is I think he will average well for the run home. Like, I think he's going to average 65 for the run home quite comfortably. But this time of year with your centre wing, you are primarily picking the matchups, and I just can't trust him, even against the lowly sides, to go really well. Because we've seen he sometimes goes well against the big guns, right? So he's a hard guy to play on those matchups. You cannot guarantee. I would prefer someone like a Karapani, who's on the wing there. He's more likely to get those sort of tries just tailing off. So that's the only thing against Shiba. I think you're in for a decent average, but he's going to be hard to pick on the matchups.
Yep, that's a fair point. Roger, the most appealing thing about Roger, Dan, I think his base power is down a fair bit this year, which is frustrating. But he's got the plum draw on the left side of that, on the end of that left side of the Warriors back line, which we know they're playing the Titans this week on that right side, which is extremely leaky. He's probably the matchup pick there, but it's a flyer.
It is a flyer. We haven't seen his ceiling, I don't think, this year. And does he have a high one? I'm not sure, to be honest. I picked him up. I don't think you started with him, but I started with him. A lot of faith in him, to really go well. I haven't watched the Warriors' last 2 games. I'm not sure what it's like with Tanner Boyd there. I think Harris Tavita's doing well, I believe, but Yeah, just probably too many questions on the Warriors at the moment, and I feel Warriors can also be in the grind. They don't mind a low-scoring game, and they're certainly pushing for a top 4 spot, aren't they? So,
Yep.
yeah, it could be a bit too grindy for me, rather than that open play we'd be looking for the left wing there.
Maybe if you're trying to win a head-to-head final in week 1 and Wazza got a good matchup, he could be one that you could take a flyer on. And you got a few trades banked. Just with that draw, I do think we'll see a good score from him 1 week coming soon. But yeah, what is the ceiling? We probably just don't know how high it is these days. He's a bit of an old bloke too these days, so maybe it's not quite there. Dan, a couple of guys who I just want to talk about selling. Billy Smith, concussion. He's a pretty easy move on now at 494k. Probably want to get someone more premium in.
Yep, pretty easy. You'd
Jermaine
never play.
Jermaine Isaah.
I think that's a really tough decision for owners. I think, again, he's been unlucky. We've seen how many points Dolphins have put on, and he really just hasn't scored the tries to back that up. I think he's had 1 try in the last 4 games or something ridiculous, and still averaging 70 plus. So I think if you see everyone selling, I don't mind the hold, like just considering everyone's trades this year as well.
Yeah, I don't think you want to play him every week. That's the only thing. Finn's got a few hard games. But I think if you have to plug him in, if you've got injuries, that's a good situation. It's really just if you want to get a bit more premium, like he's 627k. Yeah, that's a real take it or leave it for me. I'm not sure what I would do if I was still an owner. So I think that's just everyone to weigh up their own team situation. I could listen to an argue for a hold, and I could listen to an argue for a sell. So, yep, that's on everyone to have a look at their own teams there. And then finally, Dan, Brian Toto named to start for Penrith incredibly after going down. Like, thought they were going to have to chop his leg off there, having watched some of the highlights.
Yeah, it does. It concerns me a lot. They did say it was hamstring cramping, I believe. So he's had some hamstring issues this year. I could see, they had the game wrapped up, a bit of cramp. It's like, well, why risk it? So positive that it's not his knee issue. And I really love him as a player. I think he's still going to be a great pod. What price is he this week?
He's 555k this week, Dan. So you probably if you just bought him, you're probably not selling him.
No, I think you can still buy it too. That's a great price.
No, you can't buy him now.
Why not?
You can't. Like, he's just too much of an injury risk. Like, I don't know.
Depends what you're after. If you're after the pod, he can certainly take on all the premiums at centre wing. So if it's a cash issue, 555k is an absolute steal for Brian Toto.
I'd rather any of those other blokes this week than Toto. Like, I get Toto's a better player and SuperCoach option than those guys, but I just can't afford a 17 that, like, this is about the 4th game in a row he's failed to finish.
The other issue, I guess, is they're so stacked. They now have proven guys in the outside backs, Penrith. They know they can plug and play
depth.
the likes of Alamotti and co. So, yeah, there's probably that risk that he gets a rest back into the season.
Yep. All right, Dan, pods of the week. We're moving this segment forward today to the centre wing slot because both our pod of the weeks are in centre wing. And I'm going to let you go first because yours is Ultra Pod. He is in 7 teams in the top 10%, brought in by 4 teams total.
So I, for some reason, have faith in the Cowboys this year, coming in the back end of season. They've made the decision that I think I brought up last week, maybe not on the pod, but certainly in our WhatsApp group. They needed to make the change. Purdue is not a 6. It's not working out. This is probably the change is probably prompted because Tuilagi's gone down as well. But Purdue back to centre. I am jumping on Braden Burns on the wing. I think his base is enormous. He's very SuperCoach friendly. They're up against the Dragons this week. And if he gets a double, he's going 100 plus. So, yeah, I don't think I'll jump on him because I don't have the trades and I'm already stacked at centre wing. But Braden Burns definitely an absolute flyer this week.
That is super pod option. Dan, my pod of the week, he's 408k in 2.3% of teams. Ronaldo Mulitalo. Now, everyone's probably going, Ronnie, 400k, what are you doing? But like I mentioned earlier, the Sharks have an incredible run, and like, I don't want to say Ronnie's been unlucky this year because I think he has had a down season by his standards. He certainly hasn't scored the tries that he would have usually by this point. He hasn't scored a try for 5 games in a row, having scored 5 tries in his previous 4 games before that. So no reason why he won't get back to it, but they've got Souths, Cowboys, Dragons, Titans before a bye, then playing Knights and Bulldogs. You can comfortably play Ronnie in all 4 of these matches coming up. And, you know, it's only last year, Dan, we saw Ronnie get north of 700k, so we know he's got it in him. He can go on these tears. And if you are looking for a bit of cash to free up, going down from an Osako or a Billy Smith, I think Ronnie is a nice little option.
Yep, like it. Very much looking for a Sharks pod. I'm fortunate I've got one in Talakai. He's been named at centre this year. This week. Very, very happy with that. So hopefully that left edge is absolutely humming this week's against Souths.
I will say you got to go in eyes open with Ronnie. Like he has scored, you know, he's had plenty of 30s in his scores this year. So and a couple of scores in the 20s as well. So you do have to be a little bit eyes open with it. It could go wrong, but I think at the price it's worth a flyer, especially if it helps the rest of your team out and your remaining trades for the season. So happy to go with Ronnie for pot of the week. All right, Dan, let's move down to 5'8" now, and just a couple of names to talk about here. And the first one I want to talk about is Jayden Campbell, 490k, coming off another underwhelming performance against the Tigers on the weekend, where he busted out 50 points. He's almost 50% owned in the top 10% now. I bought Campbell on the weekend. By the time Sunday rolled around, I was not giving too many shits about what was going on in SuperCoach. So I wasn't too fussed. But yeah, like if you've come this far without Jayden Campbell, do you actually need him? Or should you be looking at someone like a Lachie Galvin, who's 50k cheaper and certainly on a bit of an upswing, it appears, with the doggies?
At 490k, Jayden Campbell, like you would say, that's an absolute steal. People were buying him at the start of season for 700k. I didn't see the game on the weekend, but I would have expected a little bit more than his 50 with 2 try assists. I'm not sure where his involvement was there. Obviously, he missed a few goals as well with that wind I saw in the highlights. But look, he's still a great option. I think he's number 1 for the run home. I think if you don't have him and you've got Munster, there's a consideration over dropping Munster, actually.
You reckon?
Depends on your depth. Potentially. I don't think many will do it.
For who?
For Campbell, for Galvin, someone cheaper, free up a little bit of cash. I know Munster's dropped in price again. He's 590k, but it frees up 100k to go to someone like Campbell, and you're pretty sure Campbell, if he's not injured, he's going to get every game on the run home. Whereas Munster, I think he misses this week. Potential restings back end if Melbourne have secured that top 4 spot as well. I probably wouldn't do it, but I say there's the option there to really pot up.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little luxurious, personally. I actually think now, and I mentioned on the snap, that I think running 2 strong 5'8" now is very viable, just given how like the carnage we've seen at 2RF. Basically, you have no reserves left at 2RF. If you do, you've done well to have anyone standing there. Front row forward's a bit of a wasteland as well behind Haas and Terrell May. I think it's completely viable that you want a decent backup 5'8". So that's what I'm running with.
Well, it's pretty easy to run a decent 5'8" when they're priced in the 400s, right? So correct. Campbell and Galvin are both under 500k. So very. But
what I'm saying is I wouldn't be selling Munster to them. I'd be getting whoever my second 5'8" is across or up to those types.
Yeah, it depends who it is. If it's Latu Fainu, if it's Jackson Purdue, if it's someone like that, which is a bit of a plug and play, and you're not really, I guess, wanting to trade them out, and then you've got Munster this week, rather than playing one of them. I guess like this week, Purdue against the Dragons, you could plug him in there for sure. But just some options to go pod. Like, that's what we're looking for this time of year now. I know certainly us non-Dylan Edwards owners, we've got to get something back on the field. So you're kind of looking for those pod moves.
Yeah, I really need Nathan Cleary to be that man this week, even though he's relatively highly owned as well. He'll be my vice captain, I would have thought. All right, Dan, down to, we're going to skip halfback. We had a good chat about Hines, Cleary and Hughes earlier. There's not much else doing there. 2RF now. once again, we've been hit strongly by injuries here, having Dylan Lucas down last week. We now have Keaon Koloamatangi out for the season. Most of us had him at 2RF. And Tino, who I also have at 2RF, he's out for 4 weeks. It has been revealed today. Dan, I want to start by asking the question, Tino, should you be looking to hold him, given he's going to come back around 25 for those final 3 rounds, and most people are pretty short on trades, or should you be looking to move him on as well as Keaon?
It's really tough because he's no value at low 500s, Tino, to trade out. I think if you've got the cover, someone like myself, like I'm relying on Talakai this week as a starter at the second row, and that could change next week if he goes back to the bench. So I would probably have to trade Tino. But if you're stacked like a lot of people are, I know a lot of people were stacked in the front row. They're both big jewels, though. So they've really, really hampered that flexibility around front row forward and second row forward now. So if you're already got the numbers, if you've got 4 or 5 second row forwards, and then you've had Tino and Koloamatangi hit you, I think you can probably just hold him. But otherwise, it's probably an easy move on to probably more your rock solid options at 2RF still available.
Yeah, I'm going to hold him at this stage. So currently I'm planning to move Keaon out and then move Connor Watson down. And we can talk a bit about hookers later, but I'm going to try and run a bit bare bones and just run Oren Keeley, who's still stuck in my side, as my 4th 2RF for now. And then if I have to, I'll trade Tino, but I just desperately then want Tino to come back around 25 and I'll have a little bit more depth there for the run home, and hopefully it saves me a trade, given, if I make 1 trade this week, I'm only going to have 4 left. So it's just not really an option, and I can cover it. So that's what I'm going to try to do this week. In terms of replacements, Dan, I bought Hudson Young last week. He's 717K this week, break even of 117. I wouldn't let that put you off, though. That really just comes down to a question of, do you think he's still the best 2RF in the game? They got a great fixture this week. They do have a bye in 2 weeks' time, around 3 weeks' time. So that's a bit of a spanner. He's currently 32% owned in the top 10. I'm pretty happy with that purchase. Question marks whether he's still the top second rower, though, I think.
I really like him. I saw the weekend. He didn't have any attack, which is very unlike him, but he's still base plus powered really, really well. I think he is, the number 1 bring in for any of those premiums that have gone down. I am bringing him in this week. We saw Aaron Clark on the weekend. It was the first time he kind of got beat with a 57. Still those lower minutes. I don't necessarily think he's got the ceiling of someone like a Podson Young, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those high upside guys. Reflecting now about that buy, that could be big. That could be really tricky given that all these 2RFs have gone down. So probably something like you've done where you've got Connor Watson and he can flip between hooker, but then you've got Starling on the buy as well.
Yeah, I can't flip him. I can't flip him.
Yeah, that's something to consider. But I think he's going to outscore most of the 2RFs on the way home. So he's a good purchase this week.
Yeah, if you can cover around 24, I'm in a little bit of bother that week because I've got Tarpany and Starling who are both going nowhere as well. So you just kind of got to count your Raiders a bit. I'm just going to try and deal with that. Hopefully I'll have a trade to make that'll help me out. But I'm really getting worried about this end of season now, Dan. I'm with you there. I think Hudson's still the number 1 purchase this week. Isaah Yeo, Dan, 536K, really, really, really cheap. I would suggest he's the best value. You spoke about these guys who don't have the upside. I think there's still enough rounds left in the year. What is it, 7 weeks to go, where if we can get a 70 to 75 average out of Yeo, that's still good going. I mean, he might not have that 120, but he also doesn't have the 40 in him.
Yeah, I really like Yeo this week. I couldn't go against anyone bringing him in, particularly if cash is your issue, to like 200K less than Hudson Young and probably going to average within 10, within 5 or 10. So definitely.
It could out-average him. Like, let's be honest. Like, there are definitely worlds where that happens.
Yeah. And Panthers still need to win a fair few games, I think, to really push for that top 4 spots.
Have to win every game just about, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
so,
close enough.
definitely a great option. I'll be bringing him in, maybe not this week. It's partly due to I just need a bit of the heavy artillery with these high-priced 2RFs going down. So I think they're a great option this week. And, yeah, you can plug and play him in your 18 every week for the run home.
A couple of options, Dan, who I'm a little bit anti now. Gus Crichton, I'm kind of just starting to get a bit to the point where I'm just a bit sick of what we're getting, and this will probably be famous last words, but 69, I think, on the weekend with a try. 69 with a try. Pretty not the best from Angus, and I'm just not really seeing the base power there this season from him. I spoke about, doesn't seem like he's really busting into contact like he was last year. And Olakau'atu, who's back from his shoulder injury, so 6 weeks out for Big Ola. He's 660k. I listened to NRL Physio talk about on his pod that that shoulder, Dan, is just a ticking time bomb with the way that he injured it, and that it could go again at any point. I'm just not keen on having that risk of a 40-minute, 20 to 40-minute game from Olakau'atu that could just blow up my round. So I just think at that price there are just options who are a bit safer. Maybe they don't have the upside, but yeah.
Yeah, even if Olakau'atu gets through games, I just feel when he's a bit injured, his base just goes right off. Right?
Yeah,
so
that's a good call.
He's not the guy you want who's struggling in a game, because he can go very, very quiet. So then he becomes very reliant on attack. And we know the next couple of games, Manly have got a tough draw, so they're not going to get as many attacking opportunities. Maybe a late purchase, see how he is, but he's definitely not a bring-in this week.
Yep, I agree. Beau Fermor, Dan, still he's got that sort of huge base plus power up in the low 60s. So basically what his price is at 627k, BE of 80. I feel like we talk about Beau most weeks, but he's still got to be a good option with upside.
Yep, still a good option. Pretty rock solid. Tries hard. He'll be there 80 minutes on the edge for the Titans every week. Again, great flexibility with that, swing him down to centre wing, which is probably going to be very handy in the last couple of rounds.
Someone who I'm really keen on, Dan, I don't know if I'm going to be able to swing bringing him in, but he's an excellent pod in my eyes, and I know you like him as well. Jayden Su'A, 641k. He is owned by only 0.5% of teams in the top 10%. He's coming off 85, 126, and 57 all in base plus power on the weekend. They have no more buys. I think he's an elite level 2RF. He gets attack. I don't know what. I think he's criminally underowned.
Yeah, look, I would have said you missed the boat if all these 2RFs didn't go down, but he certainly comes into big contention now. They've got the Cowboys this week, pretty delicious. They're looking for him at that short ball. Flano has been so dominant. He's usually been that second receiver on that right edge, and Su'A is always an option there. So yeah, he's an option. I wish I picked him up, back into buy period. That would have been, great whoever did that. But still a good option for the run home now. One of the elite ones.
I'm gonna have a really serious look at Su'A. Really serious. I don't know.
Could he take on someone like a Podson Young? I think
I think absolutely could. I would suggest Hudson will beat him, but I already own Hudson, so I think he's on the podium with Hudson and Yeo as the top 3 2RF buys this week. I'd have him ahead of all those other guys we mentioned. Going away from the obvious, Dan, there's a couple of more cut price guys who I want to just have a quick chat about to get your thoughts. Jeremiah Nanai, 484k. That is super cheap for a guy with a very nice ceiling, but obviously he comes with a low floor, as evidenced by that price.
Yeah, I heard that Toddy Payton was making changes this week, and that's the thing that scares me, is that he dropped Nanai early in the season. If this continues for the Cowboys, this terrible run of form, I think he might be on the chopping block. That would be. I think
he's safe.
Concern.
He's safe. He's all right.
He should be.
He's played 80 every game since then, basically, except for one where he got injured. So yeah, I think he's safe. It's more just his scores have been very underwhelming, and is that going to turn around?
Well, we know
that's a real flyer.
He can definitely hit it, and the other thing that's turning me off is Cowboys round 27. I'm expecting to have no trades by then. I'm carrying 2 Cowboys already. I would not want to be carrying 3 into that final round.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. Dan, a couple of these cheap Parramatta guys now, neither of them are my cup of tea. Jaman Hopgood finally got some minutes on the weekend. He's 399k. He had a score in the 60s. And early season cheapie, Charlie Geimer, back-to-back 80 minutes on an edge. He's 387k. So I'm interested to see who you like out of those two and why you won't want to recommend bringing either of them in.
I just can't believe we're talking about Charlie Geimer back end of season as a bring-in. This is look. I mean, he's shown 80 minutes. He can base really well. I very much doubt he can sustain a high base plus power work rate for the run home.
Yep.
I would not be surprised that he gets dropped back to the bench, possibly out of the side at some stage as well.
Well, Kelma Tuilagi's still got to come back next week.
Yeah,
from suspension.
Riles is still tinkering. We've seen it. He's just absolutely tinkering with his rotations, who he's playing. Charlie Geimer, no one will blink an eye if he's out of the side next week. So, yeah, definitely not bringing him in. Jermaine Hopgood, I think he's a much better option. Under 400k, glimpses of those minutes coming back, and we know what he can do with the time on the field. But again, I'm worried about the rotations for him. I would not be touching either of these guys.
No, I'd want to see it again from Hopgood, just given the season he's had. It's been pretty desperate. All right, Dan, down to front row forward now. It's such a cool week at 2RF. There's so many interesting options. But let's move down to front row forward now, and a popular purchase this week, Payne Haas. No one's surprised there. 727k, so not cheap. Still value, though. He is 86% owned now with 11% of teams bringing him in. I think a lot of people, Dan, had planned to go Dylan Lucas to him this week, and now there's just more of them because we got Keaon gone and Tino gone as well. So he's surely the number one target out of everyone at front row forward and second row forward.
Payne Haas averaging 87 for the year, and he's priced at a 75, I think. It's just such a simple bring-in. He needs to be in your side as soon as possible. I'm not worried about this back injury, referring Payne to the groin. I think he's had a long time off now. That's just going to be so good for him. He's going to be freshened up. What do you think about this rotation with Pat Carrigan now gone to lock this week? Is that going to influence anything there?
He's been at lock for a few weeks, Carrigan. So they're starting. Jensen's back this week. So Wilson starting at prop. So they've both been playing big minutes since Carrigan's gone there whenever they've both played. I'm not worried for Haas or Carrigan. I think they're kind of one unto themselves in terms of minutes for the Bronx. So they'll just play as many minutes as Madge wants them to, and then the rest of the rotation fits around them. So I'm not concerned at all.
I didn't think about it, actually, but he's certainly a massive captain option this week, or at least a VC option.
Not for me. Well, so he needs attack, basically, which he could get, no doubt. But I just think with Nico, you got Nico, Drinky, Cleary, Edwards if he's got the T. I just don't think you can. I think you need to go for ceiling with captain there. I don't think you can go for Payne Haas. And where
140 points this year, bit of a ceiling.
He's done it once. I'm not and don't get me wrong, he can score well. I'm just saying that I would suggest this week he's less likely than these other guys to score that high. So. But Paddy Carrigan, Dan, we just spoke about there. He's 579k there. Since he's gone to that lock role, it's looked good. It's just it's more meat and potatoes for you. You know, this is in the Isaiah Yeo, Aaron Clark sort of mold, but he's a little bit cheaper than Clark. Obviously, as the dual, we've seen if he gets some minutes. You know, you're probably looking at a big average. 70 plus average there. I would have thought for Paddy.
Yeah, if you're just looking for those rock solid minutes. I think he's played 70, 63, 51. Always got a huge base output. I think he's likely to average that 70 on the run home. So still very good value. He's probably just in those likes of the Yo and Clark, as you said. Just maybe not that attack, or definitely not the attacking upside of some of the other guys.
He doesn't have the attacking upside of even like a Clark because he doesn't really ball play. He does a little bit, but not as much as Clark. I think he can beat Clark home though. So if I was buying a dual, because like what you said, these duals now they've just all of a sudden disappeared. like Keaon and Tino, they were the two swingmen that a lot of teams were running. If you do want that swingman in your 2RF, who you can move up to front row at a pinch, if you need to fill a gap there, if Haas or Terrell May goes down for a week or two, I reckon Carrigan's the man there over Clark, just at the prices. Like he's 70k cheaper roughly. I think he can beat Clark home.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Now that Origin's over as well, and we know Madge loves to burn through, like just give those big
they have
boys
to keep
the
winning.
minutes.
They have to win.
So. Yeah, I would suspect he's 65 plus minutes every single game, and that's going to be 65
at
points.
Least. We've seen him play 70 minutes plus a lot this year. Like at least, I'm just looking at it here, like at least 8 times. So I would expect, we're going to see him average between sort of 67 and 72 minutes most weeks, and he'll go at a 1.05 ppm, which he has so far. So that's a good 75 average. So that I'll have a bit of a look at him as well. It's meat and potatoes, but it's delicious. Final position of the night, Dan, Blake Brayley, hooker. There's only one name on everyone's lips, 702k. Who would have thought we would have been talking about 702k Blake Brayley being one of the purchases of the week come round 21? Certainly not I.
I still don't believe it somehow. It's just incredible, his run that he's gone on. And now Sharks come into such a good run at the next 4. Like
crazy.
It's season defining for a lot of those guys at the top of SuperCoach. Like if you don't have break, he's been the huge pod at hooker. I can't bring myself to even look at him at 700k.
Really?
Like I can't. I don't know. He's gotten so much attack. Yes, he's looking like he's jumping out more. He's doing a lot more. I just can't see bringing in a hooker at 700k now as a viable option.
It's not just the role, Dan. It's the base power that we're seeing. He's got a 5-round base plus power of 62, which is up on his season of 50. So he was in the mid 40s prior to that run, mid to high 40s at base power. So he's added 15 to that. Then they've decided that they want to run way more play through him because they can't trust Tricky Trindle now. He's hitting runners in the red zone. He's feeding Nico close to the line. It's obscene. He's currently coming into my team at the moment for Keaon via Connor Watson. It is a big decision though, because I do lose a bit of flexibility with Connor up there at hooker. And can I get him to beat these 2RF options that we spoke about? I think it's more reliable personally, but there does have to be a reasonably significant chance that we do see him drop off and revert back to the mean. This isn't like a new guy. This is all role-based, right? Like, it's not like he's this new guy that's come onto the scene and like a cookie from sort of 10 years ago. This is Blake Brayley, who's played 150 first-grade games. And he's a known commodity, is my point.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said there. I think for you, it might be that option with you carrying a lot of Raiders, maybe looking to move Starling on at some point as well, maybe for that buy round as well, now that you're carrying
I could nuff
Hudson
Starling.
Young and Tapane, you could nuff, and then you're running Connor Watson and Blake Brayley for the run home. Certainly could see that. I just think in terms of I'm always looking for value, and 62 base plus power is his max, I think, base plus power. So he's going to have to get an attack just to get his average. He's going to need one attacking stat per game, and certainly could do it. And good on to everyone that's got him. I just can't see value at that price.
Yep. Dan, that's it for our positional analysis tonight. I do want to say that all our base plus power stats tonight have been brought to you by ballr.live, where you can go and sign up now and check all of those base plus power statistics out for every single player in SuperCoach whenever you like. All you have to do is sign up to ballr.live, and it is free. So please go check it out. We've got some really cool player statistic tables there, plus the live scores, the fastest live scores in NRL SuperCoach. Plus, you can go and check your position on the Baller Run Home Challenge. So we got tons and tons of stuff more coming over the coming weeks into the back end of the season and into the 2026 season, Dan. So I know you're on the player stats table checking it out all the time. You love yourself a bit of base plus power, don't you?
Oh, I love the stats. I love looking at the baller at the moment. I really love the projections as well. It's really good for the sit v starts at the moment.
Yes.
And just kind of flagging as well which players might have a really good game, for the week. It's such a tough period, and probably these injuries have made it a bit easier for the sit v starts at the moment. But I'm going to be on the site, 24/7 coming into the back end when there's a lot of those big decisions to be made.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't forget to tune in for the watch along this Thursday. Cannot wait to get down to the Storm v Roosters, Roosters v Storm with the Fizz and Aman. And we will see everyone for the watch along on Thursday. And before that, Dan, we got the Q&A pod, you and me, Thursday morning. We're going to talk captains, trades, and all your listener questions. So looking forward to that one too.
Geez, your base plus power on the pods over the last 2 weeks has been incredible. Is that sustainable? That's the question.
I've got no. The tough thing for owners is I've got no upside. No, I'm just all meat and potatoes. Just consistently grinding out the content every day.
Yeah. I want the matchup man in Tubes back on the Tuesday pod. I don't think it's been a while since the three brothers have been on. So.
Tubes is the Ronaldo Mulatalo this season of the podcast, of the SuperCoach podcast world. He's ready to hit his straps. He gets all his Broncos back this week. We've given him a week off. He's had a bit of a tough run at it, old Tubes. But I'm sure we're going to see him back better than ever for the Sunday snap this week. So, I'll let you take us out tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thanks very much, Danny Boy.
You beauty.